Hi, I'm Justin Boyd,
Hi, I'm Franklin Cooper.
and we are the Watchers in the Basement. Welcome to the Watchers in the Basement. We are here today to discuss season 4, episode 6 of Succession. The episode's titled Living Plus. And Frank, I mean, don't the Living Plus product, doesn't that sound great? Like, don't you want to live in a luxury retirement home that's basically going to potentially extend your life, eternal life? I mean, they sounds good to me.
I wasn't sure if I was watching Succession or a spinoff of The Matrix. They're talking about eternal life and extension of life. I'm like, bro, what the fuck am I watching? And I don't know, man. Kendall is like he gets more weird and off the reservation as the seasons go by.
Yeah. No, I loved that's the product they're pitching is this Living Plus, this luxury. It's like luxury housing for like assisted living for, elderly people. And I like how he was like, he branded it as like, we're gonna warehouse the elderly and like pitch them content and suck them dry or whatever. It was just like I don't know. They're so funny on this show with how they describe everything. And so yeah. So good episode. Well, what are your overall thoughts before we get started here?
I might be in the minority, man. So when the show opened up with Logan, this is how I knew I missed him. When I saw the opening scene of the green screen of Logan reading off the teleprompter, I automatically got emotional. I miss him. I miss his arrogance. I miss his subtle racism. It's kind of like Tony Soprano. I don't know if you've seen Sopranos. Like he's a shitty character, but like he's just TV gold. That's how I feel about Logan Roy. He's TV gold every time he's on TV. And my concerns about the show prior to, like post death was, are the writers going to do something with these three characters, meaning the kids, to where an evolution happens? And for me, it's just been more of the same, of the immaturity, the in over their head mentality of like how they're trying to operate this business, whether it's Waystar or ATN or Life Plus. And like for me, I think the writers are insulting my intelligence, because I say that because, and I know we'll get into it later on in the show, but like the TED talk to the investors, whoever, it was not a good speech. It was horrible. But again, that's pretty much on spot of how Kendall is. He's always over his head. He's not prepared. He's just green. And for the writers to sit there and portray this as a quality persuasion segment for him, I was offended. Like, this is not good. I don't know when it's going to get better as far as like the kids taking like the kids like maturing, or whether it's just Matsson or a third party comes in and takes Waystar. I've been very annoyed for 4 seasons now, the lack of maturity from these three characters, meaning the kids. So the episode for me was just it was just more of the same. It's like there hasn't been much growth between when did Logan die? Episode 3.
Yeah.
There hasn't been much growth character-wise with 3 kids from episode 3 until now. And I guess for me, I'm just kind of frustrated with it.
I don't think you're going to get much more character growth. There's only 4 episodes left. So, you're not going to get any more of that. And before I get started, I want to give a shout out to everybody in the chat right now. We've got the Texas Potterhead. We've got the McDorks. We've got Marcy joining us. So we appreciate everybody who's checking us out and following along this great episode of Succession. So as far as Kendall's speech, this episode, it was kind of like you could see the sibs were all over the place, right? They're going to LA for this pitch meeting for this product that we mentioned a couple times called Living Plus. And during this episode, you see like Kendall is really in his element. He enjoys the spotlight. He likes being on the stage. He has these like grandiose ideas. This is what he lives for. Like he wants to be like doing like these Microsoft or Apple TED Talks with, oh God, what's the Apple guy who died? the famous guy. Can't think of his name.
Not
Steve Jobs.
Steve
Steve Jobs.
Jobs.
Like he wants to be like that. You know what I mean? Like that's his dream. Part of what he loves most about this job, outside just the sheer power. Then you have Roman, who he's feeling disrespected by everyone, so that's why he's firing everyone. And we'll get into that in a little bit. And then you have Shiv, who's just emotionally, she's all over the place. You know, like she's hooking up with her ex-husband, who I guess they're not officially divorced yet. She still hasn't told anyone that she's pregnant. Like, again, we only have 4 episodes left. So you're wondering, like, what's going to happen? Like and based on how this season is laid out, which we've heard is like, basically it's 10 episodes and it's 10 days in the lives of these people. We're kind of running out of space. Like I'm wondering, like, now, or is she even going to tell anybody before the season ends? And obviously the series will end too. So I don't know. There's so much going on. But back to Kendall's speech. I thought his speech was actually great because he started off wobbly, right? He started off with with the dad stuff and the video, and Logan's back in video form. But then he recovered. He got better. He actually was selling everyone on the fact that, this like crazy growth. Now the stuff he was selling on is bullshit. Like he's selling them on bullshit, but that's what people do all the time. Like they pitch us stuff and it's like, it's based on projections, and like these projections were flat out made up bullshit, right? They're doubling their numbers, which, these analysts are like, I don't think they're going to see that, but all they've got to do is convince somebody that this is the way it is. And I mean, the stock price went up. So like he won. Like that was, and I mean, the new plan in this one, like Roman and Kendall still want to tank the deal for Matsson, but their idea now is, instead of like making, Waystar a terrible asset, now their idea is, let's make Waystar Royco so valuable that this fucker can't afford it. Like that's basically what they're saying. Cause this 192 share price, apparently he can't go past that. That's his max. At least that's what they think. So their idea was like, let's over evaluate everything to where, we're too valuable. He can't afford us. And as far as this episode, Kendall did that. He landed the plane. Now it's all based on bullshit, but so is everything else.
You know what this was? This was Kendall running a NFL franchise, right? And he signs 5 veteran players to max contracts, knowing next offseason he's going to be over $75 million over the cap. Because that's what it was. Because like to double numbers, and this is why I got so annoyed. You have your CFO there, and I forgot his name, not Frank, the other guy,
Carl.
Yeah. Carl visibly says, if you throw numbers that I don't approve, I'm going to rat you out, right? And I guess my question is, where do you go from here? Okay, the stock went up on a Thursday night of you doing this TED talk. The numbers, like over time, the numbers are going to tell the truth about whether or not you're full of shit or not. So yeah. I guess my question is, when it does fail, and it will, because you double your numbers on this life plus project that you have no numbers on, or no like passed on as far as like revenue patterns. How are you gonna like convince the investors? Yeah, like I was full of shit in the numbers on this TED talk, but stick with us. We're trustworthy. We're gonna lead the way. I don't understand. Like, where do you go with that? I guess that's my question.
I mean, I think the perception is reality. Like if you're able to sell something and people buy it, regardless of if it's a real thing or if it's, actually a quality product, it doesn't really matter. If people are buying it, that's all that matters. And he was able to sell it. I mean, in this speech. Now you're right. Now down the road, when the actuality of building these like assisted living homes, and like, how are they going to be different than any others? Like, who knows? But like, they're basically taking this one game at a time, like, if that, because like with Kendall, as you saw in this episode, he's so like wacky, like, and we've actually worked for people that are like this, where they don't know what they want to do, and then they get there day of or the day before, and they have all these grandiose ideas. And like, he wanted the people at this Hollywood studio to build him this like this home, for this living plus, and he wanted them to have clouds, and they used a smoke machine. And then when he saw what it was, like whenever they tried to deliver his vision, and he saw how like silly it was, and immediately he backed out of it and it's like, oh no, I'll do something else. Like, so I mean, these people, like, they're so used to getting their way that, like you said, like the reality of it, yeah, it's bullshit. But like reality, they've never had a good relationship with reality anyway, because they've always lived in this like fantasy land of, insane wealth and getting whatever they want, no matter what the situation is.
I kind of look. This is a show where you can't really root for anybody. Everybody's full of shit. Everybody's just spoiled brats with money and power and influence. I hope Lucas Matsson does buy the business. I hope this is what I hope happens. I hope the board, once the board finds out this motherfucker doesn't want to sell, and talking about the co-CEOs, I hope they get voted out of the co-CEO positions, and Lucas does buy this shit and destroys this motherfucking company. Because there's nobody, because the old guard, nobody wants to run this shit. Like Jerry, Frank, and everybody else, they just want to retire, take their millions and go home, which I understand. When you've been in business for that long, you don't want to work any longer. You just want to chill. Shiv wants to be part of this business, but she's a third, and like she's constantly being kept in the dark about what's going on with the business. Roman's fine people left and fucking right, has no idea what he's doing. Kendall is like, I think Kendall's one bad idea away from another drug binge. Like everybody is just so fucking like unreliable and combustible, and unless there's a payoff for me of like just a shit storm in the series finale, I don't know where you go with this storyline. Nobody has improved as far as leadership skills. Nobody. And I want to see some type of development. And I'm not going to get it because it was 4 episodes left. So I'm just kind of like, where do we go here? Like, you was better keeping Logan alive just so I can have that element still in the fold.
Yeah, I mean, this is not a show that's going to be about, there's not going to be like one big winner at the end, right? I mean, it's been a shit show since the beginning. I mean, the second episode of this show, period, in season 1 was called The Shit Show at the Fuck Factory. Like, I mean, like that's what this show is. Like, it's, these crazy wealthy people in this, and just the wheelings and dealings of their life. And I mean, granted, like I said, 4 episodes left. We're not going to have a definitive winner. Like, I don't think Matsson is going to buying the company. I honestly, I feel like what's going to happen is the shit show is just going to continue. We just won't see it. Like, the election obviously is going to play a big part in the final couple episodes, probably the final episode. And it's more going to be about how these, how this family continues on with Logan gone. And I think it's going to be the same thing. It's just going to, I don't think the end of the episode, at the end of the series is going to have some like aha moment. Like, oh, wow, what a stunning finale, unless they all die or something, or I don't know. I can't imagine what would happen. I think it's more of just how, like, you're right. None of these people, I mean, this episode especially, it was really hard to root for anybody, but they're all so damn entertaining. Like, that's the thing. Like, the business of this show is probably very similar to real life. The one big difference is like people are not as entertaining as these people. You know what I mean? Like the company that runs Fox, which is, this is kind of based on Fox News and the Murdoch family. Like, those people are not as entertaining as the Roys. Like, they're just not, like we've seen Elon Musk. He thought he was Tony Stark. He's not Tony Stark. Like, that's a tremendous fictitious character. And Elon Musk is just the dude. You know what I mean? Like, these people are not as special as they think they are, but the characters in this show are tremendous. And that's why we watch. And I don't think it really matters. Like, even like same thing with Game of Thrones. Like, in the end, did it really matter who got to sit on the throne? I mean, it was a bummer anyway, but like, who cares? Like, it wasn't about that. It was about the journey. It wasn't the destination.
I guarantee you the book ending is going to be way better, and it's going to be more satisfying than the show ending. Okay, we're talking about Game of Thrones.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course.
Because I think part of the journey is like is destiny fulfilled. That's what makes stories like this so beautiful. Is like, okay, the character that we root for, the character that's in line for this greatness, for this passing the torch, seeing that progress on TV and seeing the end of that and like be part of that journey is what makes it more satisfying. With this story, I don't know how you end it, because like it just seems really like it's all over the place. I don't there's not really a focal point on how it's gonna like go like this and then have an end point. Like I said, it might just be an ongoing shit show in episode 10, and like that's what's gonna be. But yeah, man, like I was hoping to like have a character really rise from the ashes and like show some type of like maturity and development outside of one of the siblings, whether it was Roman or Shiv, somebody just kind of like mature and like after the father's death, show a level of like a side that we haven't seen before. And it's just, I don't know, man. I'm just, it's becoming almost.
That's not this show.
Yeah, it's becoming almost like redundant with like the end around go around of like these kids just constantly being ill prepared and like not prepped for the big moments when it comes to this business.
Yeah, I think the point that we had there about what Trisha had a second ago was really spot on about how the three of them, they all got a piece of Logan, but they can't work together. That's true, and we saw that in this episode where we've seen that this season where, as Kendall and Roman became the CEOs or the CE bros, Shiv was kind of pushed aside, and now she's kind of, she's keeping her options open, as she was talking to Tom about, and she's playing both sides. She's, still on Team Roy, the quad squad or whatever, but she's also in contact with Matsson, and she's kind of like his inside person in the company. But, she also doesn't maybe have the necessary experience to really know what to do either. Like they do need each other, but they're never going to work together because they don't mix well together. It's just the way they were raised and how they were brought up. It's not going to happen. So we just have to enjoy the entertainment they provide as they, as their lives kind of implode. Or, I mean, a lot of times they just fail upward. I mean, think about the last episode where their plan was to tank the deal and then they get a better deal, like now granted, that's not what they wanted because money is immaterial to them because they've always had a ton of money, and getting a ton more is like, well, it's more, but like they're already super comfortable. It's not like it's an issue. But getting what they want, I guess, is the ultimate goal. And besides Kendall, it's not clear. I mean, he wants to be in charge of his dad's company. That's very clear. Roman and Shiv, it's not clear exactly what they want. To me,
I think Roman wants just closure. Like he never got that, like with his dad, and it's fucking with him in every other aspect of like his dad's legacy, aka the business. Like last that Roman left off is that I think he sent like a mean-spirited text message to his father like the day before he died or whatever.
Yeah.
So he's been carrying that guilt, and he's never dealt with that guilt. He's been like he's purposely distracting himself from grieving. And like now it's like in his head, like he's like, okay, what can I do to like show good faith to make good old dad proud? So I think in his mind, it's like he wants to, he can't get that closure. He wants to do what Logan would want him to do when it comes to this business. I think is what he's trying to see, and it's like you'll never know that because he's not here. And like at the end of the day, you gotta walk in your own two shoes, step in your grown man shoes, and be Roman, and not try to like emulate what your dad would have done or wouldn't do.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and as Trisha points out, like Roman wants the respect, and that's what happened in this episode. But he also, like, I think he wants for his family to be together. Like that's kind of ultimately what he wants. But again, I don't think that's gonna happen. But as far as the respect factor, that was a huge part of this episode because Roman, he fired the head of Waystar Studios, and then he fires Jerry again. What's that?
A powerful studio head at that who has a lot of connections.
The head of Waystar Studios. Like it'd be like if somebody from Disney fired Kevin Feige. Like that'd be a big deal. Like to just now, I'm not saying this Joy Palmer in the Succession world is as successful as Kevin Feige because I don't think she is, but it's a similar kind of thing. But he fires her after this this meeting, and he is very he's trying to get respect, and he can tell that she doesn't respect him. Or honestly, watching it again, like the studio head, she was basically telling him like, hey, look, like ATN is this very right leaning network, and obviously we're here in Hollywood and it's very left leaning, and we have people that work for us that are very concerned with how ATN is what it's selling in the country. And he didn't Roman didn't care anything about that. He was there to tell her like, look, we want to get the studio we want to get the studio pumping. We want the hit factory to start, and like I'm here to like give you money so that you can make this this Transformer ripoff movie, Transformers movie, Callispatron, get that mega hit going and build this tentpole of content and stuff. And she was more focused on the politics of everything. So he fired her.
Well, let's not be remiss not to mention this when because it was a very condescending line she said when he's talking about his position. Roman, she says, well, however you got your position, I'm sure you earned it. And so it was a backhanded compliment saying that motherfucker, you know, it's going to be here because you just here because of your daddy's last name.
Yeah,
and I think that's what triggered him to fire her.
But like he kind of like spurred that on, because he said to her like, yeah, you're looking at me and you're wondering, what I've done to get here. And then her response really wasn't like, I don't know. Like, I think he took it the wrong way, or he at that point, I think he was ready to fire her. You know what I mean? Like he was just like, I've got to do something. Like my dad would just do whatever he wanted to do. And if I'm going to get respect, I have to be like dad, and dad would just fire people. And so,
but that was after she said what she said about, well, I'm not sure how you got here, but I mean, I'm sure you're here for a reason. It was very like,
yeah.
It was, I mean, yeah, she got spurred on, but at the same time, this man's signing your checks. You know what I'm saying? Like he's giving your company millions of dollars or hundreds of millions of dollars to get a job done, and like you're not delivering. So it's kind of like if you're Joy, you kind of like gotta just take on the chin and just like fucking and move on, Because like, what did they say last episode that they pumped in what $200 million more dollars in reshoots?
No, I think they were saying that the total was like $220 million for the movie, which is very much along the lines of like an MCU big CGI kind of film.
Yeah, and I mean, and look, I'm not here trying to absolve Roman for what he said or did. Like Roman's a petulant child. They're all petulant children.
Yeah.
They're wearing pants are just too big for them. But I think what Roman was seeking is that all his life he's watched people walk on eggshells around Logan, and he wants that same respect.
Yeah.
People walking around eggshells on him and not questioning him, like i.e. Joy did, like i.e. Jerry did in the same episode. But in order to have that respect, you gotta be able to like command respect and like have a reputation of like getting shit done. And so far, Kendall and Roman haven't like really gotten shit done. So
yeah, no, they haven't. Although
if you notice, Kendall does command more respect than Roman does. Because even after their dad died, like his first day in office, he's walking around barking orders. I'm like, nobody's challenging Kendall. Like they gave Kendall his new like advising team. He's like, fuck off, kept on walking, nobody questioning him. Even this episode with the outlandish request that he had with the clouds and the house and all that, nobody's like stepping to him. So it's kind of like Kendall does have more respect. Maybe because he's an older brother, I don't know. But he demands to level that Roman just doesn't.
Well, and also Kendall, like when the series started, he was in line to take over. He was basically the heir apparent. It was, and he is a little bit older than Roman, obviously. That probably plays some, like Kendall is much better a much better communicator in a way, or at least like he's a much better like bullshitter. Like the investor conference was a perfect example. Like Roman backed out of doing that. Now he backed out of it because I think he thought, Kendall's going to fuck this up. And as Shiv told him, like, you're going to look bad because of what he's going to do. He's going to bomb this for both of you. And so Roman backed out of it, but I don't think that's Roman's place anyway. He's not as showy and not as, front facing as Kendall is. That's all Kendall wants to be. Kendall wants to be seen as the figurehead, the guy in charge. I mean, he also wants to be the smartest man in the room or smartest guy in the room, but he really enjoys the limelight and being on stage. And that was like the perfect setting for him to show off and be the boss. I mean, you even see like he catches himself during the speech. He says, now I'm the CEO. And he's like, oh, co-CEO. He has to like catch himself to make sure because, obviously Roman is the other co-CEO. But yeah, in the chat here, we got some comments about, how Logan was like feared and maybe respected. And the kids just don't have that. I mean, we see that with Jerry, obviously. Jerry's known him all their life, basically. And, after Roman fires Joy, that information finds its way to Jerry. Then Jerry confronts Roman about firing Joy. And then Roman fires Jerry again. Remember, he fired her in episode 3, the episode where Logan died. And now he's firing her again. Although I don't think it's going to stick. I mean, you can, after he fired her, he was, basically he went and told Kendall and he's like, we may have to roll that back. And I love, like, this was a moment where Kendall just kind of lost it. He was so excited about his speech the next day that he was like, let me see if I can I have my notes here where he was like, talking about firing everyone. And he said, let's see, where is it? Let's see.
Do you think Kendall's on drugs again?
No, I don't think so. But he said, fuck it, bro. Why not? Drop her in the end zone, talking about firing Jerry. He's like, look at you. Who are you going to fire next? Fire Frank? Fire Carl? Fucking eat Greg? Fire me? You're on fire. I love the eat Greg part. Like,
that was, he went like a little 30-second like rant of like, who's next? Yeah. Who's going to feel your wrath next? And that was, Kendall was on one that day. He was definitely on one.
But in the exchange between Jerry and Roman, Roman tells her like, I'm not getting the respect that I should from you. He's like, I need you to believe that I'm as good as my dad. And then she responds with, say it or believe it. And then he's like, well, I'll just fire you. And then her response is, well, I'm not on the kill list. Matsson last episode, Matsson laid out that like, Carolina and Tom and Jerry are not on the kill list. And, of course, like, then when she says, well, Matsson won't like this, that even makes Roman madder because he's like, well, fuck him. Like, I don't, this guy's not going to take over this company. Like that's basically, Roman and Kendall's goal is to keep this company away from Matsson. But I did love that exchange. And I just wonder how many times will Jerry get fired before she's actually fired?
I guess my thing too is that motherfucker, y'all are interim COOs or CEOs, interim, right? Like, if anything,
they have the wheel right now, though. They're in charge right now, and the
but
sale hasn't gone through. I mean,
but this is being documented though. There will be a board vote pretty soon, and if you're fucking around and firing people on your board or trying to fire people on your board, you don't think that's gonna get around the board? Sandy and Stewie and all these other motherfuckers on the board, like, these motherfuckers just firing motherfuckers left and right. This is like a insane dictatorship. That's not gonna bode well with the board. And I don't think Roman and Kendall, well, more so Roman, is thinking about the future, about like whether or not you guys' positions actually stick or go to somebody else.
Yeah, that's definite. Marcy's comment here about Greg was the only one who came through for Kendall. Yeah, Greg definitely stepped up. I like in the scene where Greg is like talking to the video editor guy, and they're trying to make, so as the show opened, it opened with this we see Logan and he's doing this, in front of a green screen. He's basically reading copy for this Life Plus or Living Plus ad. Yeah. And so Greg wants he basically wants to make Logan say things that he didn't say on camera. And the video editor guy's like, I can't make him say things he didn't say. And Greg is like, yeah, but you can. He's like, no, I can't. Like, he technically did not say those things. I like how Greg just gets mad. It's like, make it happen. Like, I've got it. Like, I got to get in the good books with somebody. Like, you got to take care of this. And it ends up happening, on the video during the conference. Logan does say that they'll double their double whatever production or whatever, and he definitely did not say that. And it's very much you notice the edit, and I love how in that moment everyone in the back, they're all like, "Oh my god, I can't believe that happened!" And then Greg Lee's like, "Yeah, but the editing was great." he's like, it's really really well edited. Like he's really there. Taking patting himself on the back for what he's done. And once again, Greg, he's doing whatever it takes, and maybe. If you're looking for an ultimate winner at the end, maybe it's Greg. Maybe somehow he finds his way to the top because he's doing whatever it takes. He has no loyalties to anybody. Like now he's a part of the quad squad, as he coined the term, and he's working with Kendall. He doesn't seem like he's as tight with Tom anymore. Like I think he kind of sees that like Tom can't help him really that much anymore. So he has no use for Tom. I mean, he's still there. He's still there to talk to Tom, and it's still great to have their interactions, but he's moved on to Kendall. And so he's doing whatever it takes to get to the top.
Let's talk about Tom and Shiv, man. I got some thoughts about Shiv, man.
Yeah. No, I got you. We'll get into that right now.
Yeah. So I know. So we all know Shiv is pregnant, and we all assume it's Tom's baby.
We know, but no one else knows.
Yeah, nobody else knows.
No one in the show knows except for Shiv.
And this is like the ongoing like theme of like the Roy kids of like the lack of maturity and like the lack of like foresight and like just being genuine human beings. You're going through a divorce or not going through a divorce with Tom, but we all agree that Tom has a right to know that motherfucker, you carry my baby, right? And instead of like coming clean and like just telling Tom what's going on, she's being like a third grade bully to Tom and like this, I like you, but I don't want to show my upper hand towards you and give you and for Shiv, it's like any sort of the transfer of power to where she's feeling vulnerable. She can't get put her person in that position. And it's like she's making it about herself and not about, saying this potential bundle of joy that she's carrying in her belly. Like the biting game. Like it's like just when you think she can't get more immature, she proves me wrong. You had a fucking function with investors and you're biting each other just to show you that you're the top and he's the bottom. Like what the fuck is that about? Like
you've never played bitey with somebody?
Huh?
You've never played bitey with somebody?
No,
I haven't either. I'm just kidding. No, I mean like
no. Yeah, I can't say that I have.
Yeah.
If I did, I was not sober. That's for damn sure. But it's just I don't know. Like that was just a weird scene. To me. I think that scene really just solidifies like how unserious of a person she is when it comes to relationships. Like she cannot let herself be vulnerable for one goddamn minute. And clearly, she still cares with Tom. But the moment where she feels like she has to come clean first or show any type of vulnerability, she automatically just does the opposite and just she's an asshole.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said before, Shiv is all over the place. We see in the beginning, like she's scheduling grieving meetings. She's scheduling meetings where she can like grieve for her father's death. Like she's having her assistant set up find her an open conference room, and then she's booking it for 30 minutes to an hour where she can just cry by herself. Like that's so weird. But then, yeah, the playing bitey with Tom. By the way, Tom wins. Like he according to the rules of bitey, which kind of like the rules of Fight Club, except for I guess you do talk about it. But the rule is like you bite somebody, and the first one to give up loses. And he really bites into her, and and that's that's when she says, wow, Tom Wabskam's finally made me feel something. Like she takes a shot at him right there. Then she also says, he apologizes to her. He's like, I'm sorry for, fucking up your life. And then she laughs and she's like, oh, you'd be so lucky. Like, I was already fucked up before you. She's like, on the other hand, though, I'm the one who fucked you up. Like they're having this like really, childish kind of thing back and forth. It's all a power play. And, then after they play Bitey, they play Bango. They get together. And it's like still they're going through divorce. They're not again, Tom doesn't know about the pregnancy, and yeah, it's a mess. Like her life is a mess. She's playing both sides with her brothers and Matsson. It's all over the place, honestly. And Tom tells her like, hey, you're keeping your options open and you should be careful about that. And then he kind of says, hey, I'd really like for us to stay together or get back together. And then she admits, well, you shouldn't have betrayed me. They talk about the betrayal, which they haven't really talked about since what happened in season 3. And, Tom just comes out and admits it. He's like, hey, it's about the money for me. I like nice things. And I had to go where the money was. And so I went with your dad. So I thought I was surprised that he came out and was so like cavalier with like, I like nice clothes and washes and stuff. And so do you, but I didn't have that stuff and you did. So I went to get my money.
But let's not let this get lost in translation. She offered up Tom to serve prison time for the whole Waystar shit in season 3. Like they had a whole family meeting on the boat, and they had just got married to the newlyweds. She happily served his ass up to do prison time. Like at that point, fuck you. We ain't man. It's every man for himself at that point. Like and I'm surprised Tom has never brought that up. That would have been the first thing I brought up. Like, motherfucker, you sent me to the Sharks. You threw me to the Sharks. What do you expect me to do? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's true. That's a tough. I mean, this family is just so messed up. They have so many issues and so much history, and who's on whose side. It really just kind of changes week to week.
Yeah.
But I did like how speaking of Shiv, while when Kendall starts off his speech at the end, everyone's like talking about how cheesy it is because he's like talking to his dad. His dad's on the screen. He's talking to his dad in the video. And like they show Jerry and she's like, oh, this is amateur hour. Like, tell me when it's over. And then, and then Shiv is like, oh, this is terrible. I can't watch this. And then Roman's like, yeah, as you watch the shit out of this and you're getting turned on, he's like, I can hear how wet you are. It's gross. Like, he said that to his sister. Like the things they say to each other is just like crazy.
But what's even more crazy? Shiv didn't respond to it. Like she didn't even like get offended. No, it was like
it's just a conversation.
It's the weirdest thing. I think another thing that really intrigued me about one of the few things that intrigued me about this episode was Carl, man. Like you never really see Carl come at people. You seen Jerry come at Roman and like have true moments with Kendall. For Carl to be like, motherfucker, don't put my rep on the line, inflate these bullshit ass numbers. Like he got in Kendall's grill, and I haven't seen anybody do that with Kendall because Kendall was like I don't want to say golden child, but like you said before, like in season 1, he was the heir apparent to run this company, and so nobody really ever challenged Kendall in that manner. Even though people talk about Kendall behind his back, but for Carl, I guess for Carl to be at the end of the line is like, look, man, I'm about to retire. Fuck this shit. It's still about to go through. I'm gonna just let him know how I feel about this shit. Like that really surprised me. I rewinded a couple of times, man, because you really ever see the old guard get buck with the kids like that.
Yeah, it's kind of like, obviously Jerry and Roman have had this like crazy weird relationship for a long time on the show, but you're right. It's similar, like how she kind of called out Roman and was like, look, like, I don't respect you because, you're just you're a 35 or 40-year-old child, basically is kind of what she's kind of getting at. And yeah, here's a chance where Carl was like, look, like you're right. Like you're messing with my reputation here. So like I put up with your dad shit because, you know, he was your dad and he was in charge, but like I've been in charge of major companies myself and you know, you're not going to screw this up for me. So it was interesting to see Carl because Carl has always kind of been like, you know, play it, you know, he never is that direct with anybody. And in that part of the episode, he did like come right at Kendall, but Kendall, in fairness, Kendall handled it really well and just like patted him on the shoulder and just went on to do his speech. And yeah, he really handled it well. The only other person I can really think of like that really, I mean, obviously Matsson has gone at Kendall, but remember the guy from Volter in season 1? That guy was pretty much
The
like, you
Asian
know,
guy.
yeah, he was
I
like,
remember
"Oh,
him.
you know, you're just daddy's boy, like, you know, daddy isn't here to help you or whatever." And yeah, so but in that way you can kind of see how Kendall has grown a little bit. He's handling stuff like what Carl said to him might have you know,
Shook him
sunk
in
him in
season one.
previous seasons, but this one he just, you know, shook it off and went out there and gave the speech and did his thing and you know, he got a win for the day. I mean, now is it going to be a win in the long term? No, but it's, you know, just play the game that's in front of you. That's all you can do. So that's what Kendall was doing.
I think another thing that frustrated me too about the CEO, the co-CEO bros, was the so we all know they're trying to get out this deal, right? They're trying to save Waystar and ATN for themselves.
Yeah.
So there was no strategy, no like planning behind this, but they call a meeting with the old guard and everybody else involved in this deal and said, "Oh man, we just don't feel good about Matsson taking over. We feel like he's, I don't know, corrupt morally and like they're trying, and like Jerry and everybody's just they're trying to get like to the nuts and bolts of it. Like, what do you mean? Like, what did he say anything in particular? And like the lack of planning. And this is why I get it. Maybe it's just the writers saying, you know what, here's more examples of like why these two guys are just ill-equipped to run this company. But to call this meeting and not have a viable explanation why, at least on the surface level, why you don't feel comfortable with this deal, and then like just be super vague about it in this meeting, it's just wild. Because like nothing got done, like everybody called bullshit, like it's fine, we'll take our chances. Yeah. And so seeing that, and then seeing the TED talk that Kendall had, you know, when Matsson made the anti-Semitic tweet. Yeah, that Nazi tweet. I was thinking to myself, okay, all right, Kendall, this is the opportunity for you to say this is why Matsson cannot buy the company. He's too reckless. This is a anti-Semitic tweet. He had no problem putting on wax on social media. This is why we can't give him the company. We have a prestige, a reputation to uphold. That would have been the time to really struggle with Ironside and take advantage of Matsson's hot, I guess, outlandish ways as far as his personality. And he didn't do it. He kind of just smoothed it over and just like, you know, well, I'm not gonna respond to that. Like, that's when you strike, bro. That if this is what you really want, use that to your advantage. And I feel like he just missed a good opportunity to do that.
I don't know. I think he did respond to it. I think like there's a certain, because like, okay, so after he gives his presentation, while he's giving his presentation, that's when Matsson tweets out the Holocaust joke using Doderick, which is like the Mickey Mouse. It's like Waystar's Mickey Mouse, basically, from what I can gather. And you know, Kendall asked for questions from the audience, and he had like a plant. He had like a journalist, I guess, that they get favorable coverage from in the audience. And when he tossed it to that guy, instead of that guy asking the question that he thought the guy had to ask him about, hey, have you seen this tweet from Matsson about, you know, what he said about you? And then of course Kendall's like, no, I'm catching up. I'm up here on stage. I didn't know. And so then he looks at his phone and Kendall's like, he looks at the tweet and he's like, well, I'm not going to fave it. And he said, you know, he's like, I wouldn't have said that. He's like, you know, Matsson's very European. Like all these things are little tweaks at Matsson. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't directly come out and like, you know, disown him by any means, but he takes shots and, you know, in his own way, kind of like a businessman would do. He sells that, like, you know, like, look, like Matsson's this guy playing on social media, but like with Living Plus, we're going beyond social media. We're better than social media, you know, and people are going to be hungry for the connection that we're going to provide. He said, I know that I am. And, I mean, obviously works. Matsson deletes he takes down his tweet. Like I mean, Kendall got him, honestly, in that situation. He didn't bow down to Matsson and go, well, this guy's buying our company. So, he made me look like a fool. So I've just got to take it, get on my knees. He didn't do that. He, in his own way, said like, hey, this guy's kind of erratic and he's European and like, he doesn't know what he's doing really. And he's messing with social media, this like piddly crap, but we're trying to give people, these greater life experiences. We want to extend people's life. And, like I mean, Kendall's offering things that he can't fulfill, but he's also trying to put down what Matsson is, who Matsson's this like Elon Musk, like tech genius or whatever. And this was Kendall's way of going, okay, I'm going to take it. This is I am taking advantage of this opportunity to like push him down a little bit.
I just felt like he would have like won the crowd more by saying, hey, investors, if you let Matsson buy this business, this is what you're dealing with. Like put your trust in me. Let me and my brother run this company, because we're not gonna be reckless and put out anti-Semitic tweets. We're not gonna be reckless and say whatever we want. And I would have. Well, he doesn't know. He doesn't know about the whole harassment thing with Matsson's publicist. But
yeah,
I feel like he could have got his hands there a little bit more and like really win at Matsson. Because I feel like the investors and the people in that room, the shift became more about Life Plus more than saying, hey, this guy might not be good to own this business, and I need to unveil that to these people who are paying millions of dollars to invest in my father's legacy.
Yeah, I just think like obviously he's there to pitch that product, and I think he did a good kind of pivot where he addressed the issue, but then kept the focus on the product. Because again, his plan now is to promise unbelievable growth. The price rocket, he keeps talking about price rockets. His new plan is we're going to make this so valuable that Matsson can't even touch it. And that was kind of his way, was to like go, look, this guy is saying shit about us. It's not cool. But, again, he's playing around social media, and we're going to give people longer lives and a better life. So I do think that he checkmated Matsson on that one. That's why Matsson deleted it. I mean, obviously Matsson deleted it also because, Shiv was telling him like, hey, you should do this. You should do that. But I think Matsson saw the writing on the wall that like, this doesn't look good. Like he did beat me. Like Kendall won that round for sure.
I wanted to so gun to your head. Do you think Kendall finds a way to miraculously make this product way more valuable than what it is, like on paper? Like weeks from now,
I think that after this episode, we're not going to hear about this product again. Because, like, again, they just, I mean, think about like they put the plan together the day before. Everything is done in the spur of the moment. There's not a lot of thought put into stuff. And Kendall got a win, which is almost kind of the worst thing, because then he thinks he can just do like, it's like the whole thing. Like if you study for the test 5 minutes for the test and you ace the test, in the future, you're going to go, well, I'll just study 5 minutes for the test. Like you kind of like, it's kind of like in basketball. If a really bad player or bad shooter hits his first three, you're like, oh no, that's the worst thing for my team. Now the guy's going to shoot 10 threes, like where he should shoot 0 because he made that one somehow. He's now going to shoot 10, and that's basically 10 turnovers because the other team's going to get the ball. That's kind of like what this was for Kendall, where it worked. And so there's no reason for him to change what he's doing. He's just going to continue to, whatever's the next thing. I mean, think about this season. I mean, the Pierce deal is like, I mean, Shiv is the only one who even mentions it even more. Like everything, it's like they live for the day or the moment and they're moving on. And it's what's the next thing. And I mean, maybe we'll see Living Plus again, but I bet we won't. I can't. I mean, unless I don't know. I don't know what could happen because there's only 4 days left in the season. So there can't be a tremendous amount of things that happen. But I do want to point out that, man, if this show is 10 days in this season, they have a very busy 10-day schedule. I mean, every day they have some major event, life event with work events. Like it's crazy. You would think there'd be some built in, like, a day off here or there, just a travel day. I mean, like they were in Norway last episode. This week they're in Los Angeles. I mean, the next day they're in Los Angeles. So it's a very jet setting life they lead.
So as far as timelines, as far as big moments left that we know of, the election, that's pretty much 18 supports this candidate. That's a left winger, and it's a right wing invested show.
No. They're supporting a very right wing candidate.
Oh, is he very? Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Jared Minkin is like he's like super
right wing. Okay.
He's like a Trump kind of. I mean, not like a celebrity like Trump was, but like that kind of candidate. And yeah, ATN is very much a Fox News, and they're ride or die with that guy because he's their guy right now. And
yeah,
in the future they'll find a new right wing person to champion, I guess you could say.
Okay, so we have the election coming up.
Yeah,
we have the board vote coming up. We have the pending sell or not sell with Matsson and Waystar.
That'll be the board vote, right? That'll be the board. The board votes to agree to the terms of the deal, right?
But wouldn't it be two separate votes? Because like you still got because Kendall and Roman are still interim. So I don't know when that vote happens, so whether or not they find if they're permanent or if they go another direction as far as leadership.
Well, I mean, if Matsson buys Waystar Royco, he'll absorb it. He'll be the CEO or he'll be whatever he wants to be called.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, Kendall and Roman, their days are probably numbered with that company if they sell, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they'll get their 5% or whatever percentage they get of the company and they'll be on their way, I would think. Right. So, whereas Shiv is kind of positioning herself to where if Matsson does absorb Waystar Royco, she would still have a place. But yeah, I mean, I'm not really sure about that stuff as far as like them sticking around. I don't think that we're going to see. I don't think we're going to see a new vote to determine who's the new head of Waystar. It'll either be Matsson buys it or it'll be Kendall and Roman to finish out the season.
Some tells me there's going to be a double whammy. I think this harassment thing with Matsson and his ex-girlfriend / comms person is going to come to light, which I think is going to affect the vote. And I also think this ATN bias towards something's going on to where it's real bad issues with ATN supporting Matsson. What's his name? Minkin?
Yeah.
Weekend. So I think those two things are going to come to a head. They were both mentioned in different parts of the season, but I think it's going to come to a head.
Yeah, I mean, the Minkin thing is going to be a big thing, I would think. I mean, but we only have 4 episodes left. The election will probably be the series finale, episode 10. We still have not seen Minkin this season. We also didn't see Connor and Willow this episode, which I mean, Connor also has a smaller stake in the election because he's trying to hold his 1% of the vote. But I would think that the next, I don't know about the next episode, but I would think episode 8, we're going to have to start focusing on the election. I mean, obviously, it's got to focus on that because we haven't even seen the actor who plays Jared Minkin this season. We saw him in season 3, but yeah, we've got to see that at some point. And as far as the double whammy thing, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I think that this show is gonna have it's gonna have a crazy ending. I think, but I think it'll just end as a mess. Everything's gonna be a mess as it's been every episode. I mean, the whole thing has been crazy. Yeah, and then as far as as far as like what's next for the company, I don't know. Like the Matsson stuff, it's really interesting. If you think about what happened in the last episode where he told Shiv all this stuff about Ebba and how he like sent her his blood and all that kind of stuff. Like, I mean, I really wonder, was that legit? Because I mean, granted, he was obviously high, but like, why would you volunteer that information to a Roy? Now, granted, he was trying to use Shiv to to mess with her brothers. But I just that's a weird move by Matsson. And maybe that just shows that, like I said before, like these people that these billionaires are not like they're not Tony Starks. They're not geniuses. They're just sometimes they're nepto people. Like right, like their daddy was rich. They got the money. Whatever. Their daddy owned or found a mine somewhere in South Africa, and they got rich because of that. Like there is some of that obviously in the real world. Maybe that's the case with this show, but Matsson like telling her that gives her a weapon to use against him. So I just wonder how legit that is, and if we'll even hear anything else about that.
I thought it was BS at first too, until this episode when he literally tweeted something very, very insensitive towards Jewish people. Yeah. It just shows me that he's just very irresponsible and very just off the cuff. It doesn't give much thought to things. He's just very reactionary and just does what he wants to do with that cause.
Yeah, he's definitely erratic. There's no question about that. But man, that's just for someone who tries to be the smartest person in the world, and I mean, Jerry calls him a genius in this episode. It's pretty dumb. Like, why would you give away that information to the other side, basically? But real people do dumb stuff all the time, so that's very possible. That's just something that his character would actually do. So.
Facts.
What's that?
No, I just said facts.
Yeah. So let's focus a little bit about. So as the episode opened, it opened on the video recording of Logan doing the commercial, and he gets upset with the staff that are there, and he berates them, and he says like, y'all are morons, just like my idiot kids. And you see Kendall, and he watches it a couple of times. Like you can tell, like he's watching what happened. Listening to his dad calling him and his siblings morons. And in the episode at the end, after Kendall's big speech and everyone's congratulating, Roman kind of walks away. He's in his car. Then he's like listening to some like edited video where his dad is saying that he has a micro dick, and he's listening to it over and over. And it's like I don't really get like Roman and Kendall's like I know they're used to having their dad like berate them and treat them like shit, but I don't understand why they continue that process while with the dad gone.
It's what they know. It's literally all they know. Like, has their dad ever said "I love you" like unconditionally, like say it without like trying to get something out of it? Like this toxicity is something that's been brewing since they were kids, and I think like even when they show emotion towards each other. When they do group hugs, it looks uncomfortable. It looks like disjointed. It doesn't look natural or sincere because they don't operate that way. Like, look at the mother. The beacon of like most mothers are catering and like nurturing and caring. The mothers aren't anything but that. So between Logan and between the mother, like I'm surprised they ain't more fucked off than what they are.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I can understand that. It's just, I don't know. Like, feels like with him gone, you just would like just want to move on and try to, not have to deal with that abuse. But I don't know if they like the abuse because they're just so used to it. But it's definitely messed up. So, and yeah, maybe like what Trish is saying, like just wanting to hear the voice of their dad. That might be part of it too. But I mean, obviously, like the thing that Kendall watched was actually his dad saying, "My kids are morons, just like all you staff members," right? Like, but the thing that Roman watches was an edited clip. I'm sure someone made it as a joke, and maybe Greg was a part of that because he was in there with the video editor, and he was barking out instructions. So maybe Greg made that or something. But
I don't know if Greg has the stones to do that, does he?
I mean, yeah, that's a good point. I mean, Greg has like glommed on to the CE bros, but yeah, it probably wasn't Greg. I don't know who did it, but it's interesting that that happened. And also, in the beginning of the episode, we see Shiv, and she's watching the same clip with the green screen footage of their dad talking. So maybe what Trisha said is probably accurate. They all just want to hear their dad's voice again and feel like he's still, a part of it. Because I mean, once again, this show did that by having him with that green screen video. We got to see Logan Roy continue to live on, you know, in a way that you wouldn't expect. And I feel like there's going to be another one of those chances because it seems like every episode has had a moment where you remember Logan or you feel like you feel his presence, even though you don't really actually see him interact with any living person.
Yeah, I thought it was a good job of like incorporating Logan even in death. He's still he's still torturing his kids and still like creating this image of like these kids trying to follow. And I thought it was genius to have that outtake of him saying, "You guys are morons like my kids." Like being Logan, like, it's not. I mean, one thing about old people, man, they don't change. That's who they are. Like they're not gonna negotiate their personality. Regardless of how you feel, they're gonna be unapologetically them and them only. And even in death, Logan still shines through that asshole personality of his. So I feel bad for Shiv's kid, man. Like I don't know, like your uncle's gonna be Kendall and Roman. Your mother's gonna be Shiv. Like that kid's fucked.
That kid's gonna have to like learn insults at a very very early age to hang, because that's gonna be a tough. I bet that "fuck off" is probably the first like phrase that kid learns. I almost would have to out of necessity just to survive because that's all they say all the time on this show.
There's this group on Instagram. These 3 or 4 people that they do like little like spoofs of like different TV shows. They've done Yellowstone and they've done Succession.
Yeah,
and literally their skits are just saying "fuck off" like 35 times in different like scenes. It's hilarious. I need to send it to you.
I think I've seen one of them. I think you sent me one of them before.
Yeah.
It's pretty spot on. But I thought the episode ended in a pretty apropos way where we see Kendall after his like triumphant speech. He gets in this gets in the ocean, the Pacific Ocean, and he's like laying on his back, which kind of makes you think about last season where he was laying face down in that pool, trying to potentially drown himself. This one, he's laying on his back and he's like enjoying the fact that he's he accomplished something. I guess that's kind of what they're trying to get us to think. I don't know. What did you think about that?
I think with Kendall, man, you've seen a lot of symmetry in this season with Kendall. Like when he became co-CEO, CEO, from was it episode 5 to like now, in episode 1 of season 1, like the symmetry of like the bravado, the cockiness, the swag, and like and to this episode of him being face down in the water last season to him being face up in triumph this season. So there's a lot of symmetry with this character. I want to say almost like unfinished business, or like him trying to become the man that he's always been destined to be, and how people viewed him to be. I think those scenes really signify that for Kendall, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it was a big win for Kendall, and I like how he wore, for the product launch, he wore a flight jacket. I thought that was pretty cool. He's all about the pomp and circumstance. He loves that kind of stuff, the pageantry of these TED Talks and these big events. He loves that, and he was able to pull it off, and that's that was a big win for Logan's number one boy. So,
do you think there's a situation that arises to where Roman and Kendall are head to head?
That's interesting because the way that Roman reacted after Kendall, Kendall nailed the speech. I mean, he did the best he could. He actually got a win out of it. And then Roman was kind of quick to leave. But then in the same sense, like I said earlier, like that Roman being on stage is not his skill set.
But it wasn't looking approval though. It was look of like, fuck, this guy got
right
succeeded. You know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't proudness.
Right. But then as we saw in the car, he's like focused on his dad, that fake message from his dad. So I don't know. Roman, it's hard to read. Like, I mean, do I think the show ends with the CEOs, the co-CEOs retaining that? And like it being like a very like a great functional partnership, the dynamic duo as Kendall called it. No, I don't think that. But there's just not enough time for there to be like a major shakeup between those two characters. I wouldn't think, unless it's the finale.
Yeah, unless it's a permanent falling out that just kind of just goes off screen after the show ends.
Yeah,
I don't think all three of these siblings are at peace with each other by
no,
the finale. I think there's
they
going to be a
never have been.
factor of some sort because it's like when there's this much money involved, like this is generational money we're talking about as far as like
Yeah.
this deal, and like people have broken over thousands of dollars, let alone billions of dollars. You know what I'm saying? Like or hundreds of millions of dollars. Like
Yeah.
I would say this. I mean, it's probably billions. This is like the Fox of this world. I can see this being a lasting effect of like a fracture within the Roy family.
Yeah, I mean, Logan. Not that he was really ever there to keep it together, but hit the power structure kept it together because he was always on top, and now he's not there. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens as the season plays out. So we got a question here from Trisha. Do you think there's a scenario where Tom turns on Shiv again, uses the Matsson info, and winds up on top? That's interesting. Frank, what do you think about that?
Damn, Texas Potter got me thinking. I don't think so, only because Tom warned her about playing both sides. And I think if Tom didn't give a fuck, he wouldn't even mention that. Because like now that you say, hey, be careful playing both sides, now you're trying to put Shiv on notice. And then to where Shiv knows you mentioning it or caring about her regarding it. I think if Tom was really about that life, he wouldn't even mention it. He would have just stayed behind the shadows and just did what he did. Kind of like how he did with picking Logan over her last season.
Yeah, I think that like if Tom, see, I'm not sure Tom has the information about Matsson. If you're saying the Matsson information, meaning the stuff with Ebba, the sending her blood, like if you're talking about that information, I don't think Tom has that information. But if he does, I mean, well, I'll say this: if he does have that information, I think anything's on the card, like anything's on the table, right? Because these people flip on each other all the time. But I don't think he has that information. Now, if he did have that information, would he? I think he would. I think if it meant retaining his, keeping his money, as he said, I think he would do it because he knows like Shiv will never be just his, right? Like I mean, he is Tom in this world. Tom is a parasite that lives off of Shiv or lives off of Logan, and Logan's gone. Like so he's got to glom onto somebody to survive. Shiv will be fine no matter what. I mean, financially speaking, emotionally or mentally, who knows? But financially, she'll be okay. She'll land on her feet. If the sale goes through, she gets 5% of whatever it is, which will be a lot of money. And if it doesn't go through, she retains her lifestyle, and they keep on chugging. So she'll be good either way. But Tom, honestly, he'd do anything. I think, and the fact that he admitted that it's about the money to him, I was surprised by that because that hasn't really been his. I mean, it seemed like in season 3, the reason why he betrayed Shiv and the kids was for his survival, right? But I mean, I guess like his survival and his money can kind of be the same thing. But I don't know. I guess it is the same thing because we've talked about it before. It's not like Tom. He's basically the head of ATN. It's not like if he got fired by ATN, some other network in this world would pick him up because he didn't get to the top of ATN on his own accord, right? He got to the top because he was married to Shiv and he kind of maneuvered his way. Now, granted, again, that's how things work in the real world anyway. So maybe he would land on his feet somewhere else. But I don't know. It's an interesting question. I do think that Tom, if he had the information, yeah, I think he would do whatever it takes, honestly.
I don't think it's as raw as Tom said it, like as cavalier as he said it. I think it was for status. I think when people of that ilk marry, it's a lot of times it's for status. I mean, you see it with like the royal family, like they might love each other eventually, but like when they marry off their kids, it's to other astute houses and other astute like families, right? Of good reputation. I think the same way in like this rich world, this high society world. Like I'm sure Tom's not broke. His family's not broke. They come from money too, but like the Roys are like the creme de la creme when it comes to like high society and success. And I think, yeah, it was for status. Because I mean, if Shiv's family was worth a couple grand and like they were actually shipped to McDonald's, he wouldn't like look twice at her direction. But I think over time when they got married, I think there was a genuine feelings and care towards Shiv. I mean, you even saw it because like I think when was that season 2 when he kind of had a whiff of the affair that Shiv had with her old coworker. I think he was hurt. I think he was hurt by that. I think that was more than just, oh shit, I might lose my wife and going back to the poorhouse. Because either way, Tom is good. Tom's not broke, right? Like I get it. He wants to be, the creme de la creme, but I think he really loved her. And I think that's why I think why he got so hurt when she jokingly said, "I don't love you," and then threw him under the bus as far as him, doing potential prison time for the Waystar cruise shit. So, yeah, I don't think it's as cut and dry as Tom let it to be about it being money. I think it was. I think he did care about her intimately because he wanted to have kids and have his life with her. And the minute he felt like the feelings weren't being returned, he's like, "Well, fuck it, then I'm gonna side my horse to the next highest bidder."
Yeah, no, that's pretty much what happened. So yeah, you're right about that. I did think that Tom had one of the funnier lines in the episode. He had to follow Kendall after on the stage for his speech, and of course, Tom the whole episode he's like kind of nervous about his speech, and you can tell because his speech sounded pretty bad from what we got to see. But he's waiting in the wings, and then Kendall announces him, introduces him, and just before he goes on stage, he looks at Greg and he's like, "How am I supposed to follow this? He just promised him eternal life." Talking about living plus.
Yeah.
I thought that was a great line. I think Greg had another good one too when Kendall was like trying to again price rocket the living plus asset. He was saying he's like, I want people to evaluate living plus, this like assisted living community, like they do tech. And I think Greg was like, I think it's hard to make houses seem like tech because we've had houses for a while. Like, I think Greg had some good lines, because then like Kendall's like, yeah, he's like, we just need unbelievable growth, and Greg's like, yeah, so all you got to depend on is maybe having unbelievable growth, like is this I'm telling you, Greg is like, he's a dark horse to take over. If there's anybody who maybe comes out on top of this, Greg is like inching his way to the top.
Bro, I said it episode 1, dog. I was like, bro, like watch it be the board. It gets to the board and like his grandfather Ewing, or is it Ewing? Or,
I think it's Ewan or something. Yeah.
Ewing comes to the forward and like fucks everything up, and like Greg's the last man standing when it comes to like I really believe like the fracture amongst the siblings it's going to happen to where it's permanent. And the next closest Rory, man, as far as like somebody being young and spry and ready to take action, would be Greg, the fourth member of the Quad Squad.
Yeah, but that only works if they don't sell the Matsson, because if they sell the Matsson, those Roys are out. Maybe Shiv survives. I mean, she wasn't on the kill list, obviously, but the rest of them are gone. I mean, Matsson made fun of Greg in the previous episode where he's like, "Oh, there's more of them. Are you all related?" He pointed to the whole crowd of people, because so yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Matsson, man, like I think Alexander Skarsgard, man, is like a hidden gem in this show. Like his array of character and like the way he's able to like his the variances of like these portrayals that he does on TV. Guy played Eric Northman on True Blood, like serious, deadly, apex predator, man. And like he goes from that, and I don't know if y'all watched Atlanta, but he was in Atlanta, the last season of Atlanta. He played like this coked out rich guy in Atlanta, and now he plays this petulant child in this series. Like he's showing his array and like his length of like acting with these variances of portrayals that I really like about him, man. And he's like 6'10", and he plays like this petulant child in the show, and it's like he's doing a great job. I'm really impressed with his role in this series so far.
Yeah, he's been in a lot of stuff, but I don't think like I haven't seen the movie, but The Northman, it came out last year. I don't know if you've seen that movie, but it was like a big star. He was in that Tarzan movie. I'm just wondering, like, will he make his way to the superhero stuff? Like, will he be in the MCU or in DC or something? I don't.
He has the look.
Yeah, right.
And his dad.
I just don't know what the character. Yeah.
His dad was in the MCU, so I wouldn't be surprised if he does follow eventually. But yeah. I mean, he's 6'9", like he's a big guy.
Yeah, I mean he's definitely this is not his biggest role, I don't think, but it might be his best, and granted we, who knows how much more we're going to see of him, because again, there's only 4 episodes left of this show, which I can't believe. Like I keep saying that, but it's like there's so much left to happen, and we're running out of real estate. We really are. We're running out of space to talk about it. So
the Skarsgard have been, they've had a good 2023 because his brother, is it Billy Skarsgard? He was in John Wick. He played the bad guy in John Wick. That's his brother.
Okay.
Yeah. The main one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of them was an It. Yeah. We get that. Brittany put that in the chat. Pennywise and It. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. There's like 10 Skarsgård, so they're just all over the place. They're going to take over eventually. So
that was fucking goddamn a lot of shit.
Getting after it. Yep. I don't know if he was playing a lot of Bitey, but he was playing something else. I'd never heard of Bitey. I like when Shiv said that, I was like, what? Like, I like how Tom's like, no, like what does that mean? Oh, so Texas Potter says he would have made a great Craven. Well, Craven is Aaron Taylor Johnson, which that footage for that movie, some of it came out last week from CinemaCon. I have not seen the footage. I don't know that it was released online, but Craven is rated R. So it's apparently the footage that was shown, a couple F-bombs were dropped, pretty violent scenes. So again, this is a character in that Sony Spider-Man universe without Spider-Man. So we'll see what happens.
I don't know how you swing it, man, without Spider. I don't know how you swing a Spider-Man villain in a Spider-Man Spidey universe without Spider-Man. That's gonna be.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Eventually, you gotta have Spider-Man. You would think. I don't know who their Spider-Man is gonna be. I think it would make the most sense if like Tom Holland stayed with the MCU and Andrew Garfield came back. That would be kind of the perfect way to handle that. But then there's Madam Web that's coming out, and apparently that's like set in the 90s. So there's a different Spider-Man in that movie, like a different, not even Peter Parker, but a different Spider-Man. So I don't know.
Yeah, we shall see.
It's crazy.
But, my girl will be in that. Miss Cindy Sweeney's gonna be in Madam Web. I'm excited about that. Yeah. My girl right there, man.
Yeah, I think she would be great in Succession. She's a little bit young though. I'm not sure what role she would play, but like maybe if she was like Jerry's like daughter, that would work, right?
She can be my fiance. I wouldn't be mad at that at all. So I have her in age, but it's okay. She's legal.
Yeah,
it's cool.
Well, we'll be talking about her, I'm sure, in the future because she's in Madam Web. There's a lot of Spider-Man stuff coming up. We've got a lot of other things to talk about, but yeah, we're closing out Succession. 4 more episodes. So now that you know what we think about this episode, we want to know what you think about it. And the best way you can do that is like Trisha's done, like Marcy, like the McDorks did. Join us for our live chat. The live chat experience that we offer here. We love to get your comments and your questions. But if you're watching this on YouTube right now or later, do us a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out, and we really appreciate it. Also, if maybe you're not into the video portion, we're also on the audio platforms. So check us out on Spotify. We're on Google Podcasts. We're on Apple Podcasts. Give us a 5-star rating. Listen to us there. And of course, we're on social media because everyone's on social media, right? So even though I think Twitter was down today, so whatever, fuck Twitter. But we are on Twitter, right? We're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. Follow us at Watchers Basement. And hey, if you comment on social media, which if you listen to me right now, I love social media. I'd love it more than anything. Use the hashtag Watchers Basement. That really helps us out. Also, we can search for that and get your comments, your questions, and hopefully we can bring that stuff to the show. But anyway, that's all for our social media hype, because love that. So for Frank, this is Justin. We're signing off, saying thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
And fuck Twitter.
Fuck Twitter.